power of the written word, and you would represent the brain trust of that in a village. There were certain people, and that's why their names lived on through history. The name Smith and Carpenter, those names have lived on through history. A lot of names came from the job that you did and the knowledge that you had, and people got knowledge through apprenticeship. This was before Gutenberg. We had monasteries where monks would spend their lives till they went blind and crippled. Just every single day they would be writing Bibles. That was their job, to write Bibles longhand. Gutenberg was the man of the century. Because of Gutenberg, we have an internet. Gutenberg invented the printing press, and that man changed the world. Because all of a sudden, knowledge could be in anybody's hand. All you had to do was learn to read. And if you could learn to read, then the libraries of the world were open to you. You could become anything. Schooling, for most of man's history, was apprenticeship. The idea of the classroom is not that long ago. It's when we started to organize society, and we wanted society organized where people were thinking one way. The classroom's job is supposed to be able to teach you to read and write, and to understand certain basic principles of certain basic disciplines, that if you want to go forward to that in life, you could touch agriculture, you could touch blacksmithing, you could touch carpentry, you could touch plumbing. These are important things. When COVID-19 dropped the hammer on the world, we didn't go looking for more Kardashians, you know. We went looking for all of the people that could hold the country up. And education is important. Being able to educate the people is important. The internet as a tool is the next step in the evolution of human education, started by Gutenberg. When Gutenberg created the opportunity for people to sit with others and read knowledge into their minds, the internet was the great emancipator. The internet is the liberator. The internet puts at your fingertips all of the knowledge of the world. That's what it does. And we were supposed, all of us, mankind, right now, or even before COVID-19, universities started to go online. Universities started to go digital, and it was about you could operate in your home because you don't have to be in a class with a teacher hitting you with a whip. That's not what education is. The whip in education is to beat your independence out of you. This thing like ADD, attention deficit disorder, that's a bullshit thing that they made up to get all the children, even the hyperactive ones. We are different in our interspecies development. We're different. They have people who are very calm, and they have people who are very hyper. They have daydreamers, and they have people who are very focused. And it's nature and it's nurture, but it's different. But they invent things like Ritalin and other chemicals to try and shape everybody's mind the same way and beat the independence out of you. Every single person that I knew in St. Mary's College in my year that was a bad boy went on to become successful in something. Successful. None of the bad boys went on to become anybody's employee. Funny how that worked out. All of the bad boys who gave, or ask the deans, all of my deans are my friends on Facebook. All of my past teachers, I have so many of my past teachers, and they tell you, I wasn't easy. I wasn't easy at all. But the people who were most disruptive were the people who were not content to accept the way the world was. And I want to tell you something. There's a saying, it's one of the truest sayings I've ever heard. Reasonable people accept things as they are. Unreasonable people change the world. Be unreasonable. Be unaccepting. We have to stop the nonsense of forcing all of our people, and I'm coming off the education point now. But I said, in the first year of the Citizens Union, and there was a teacher, and she was one of my greatest followers, and I told her that the fastest evolution and the best way forward for teaching in Trinidad and Tobago was to put screens in the classrooms as phasing out teaching and educating and giving everybody access to one teacher. You can imagine if presentation, Mokorapo, Tranquility, Debe, Tobago, everybody, school, have the same lesson in the same curriculum being taught on a screen by the same teacher. The purchase price of that screen is one teacher's salary for 1 month, and you save the other 11. Now, teachers got upset and they said, never vote for you, because they want to vote themselves a salary. They don't care about the development of Trinidad and Tobago, and they don't even care about the development of the country. They care about their salary. So people started to ask, well, who will be in charge of the discipline and the development of children? I said, well, that you could have in the classroom. You could have people trained in those disciplines. You could have people trained, guidance, counselors, psychology, basic psychology, and know how to interact with children, all the different, in the entire spectrum of personalities, how to relate to them. You could hire 2 for the price of 1 overpaid teacher. And yes, I'm saying that. And our teachers are underpaid, but they also overpaid for what they're delivering now. Our entire education system has failed us. And if we do not face and accept that, we will stay stuck in this mire and bogged down in mediocrity, creating that bandit factory that robbing and killing this country. And that is one thing. And yes, you could attach parenting and social development and community and all of those things. But the fact that all of those things exist as excuses and not as things being discussed looking for solutions is showing you how failed our education system is. Because the people who are coming out of that system are ending up in positions of authority in this country. And instead of taking massive action that redevelops Trinidad and Tobago to the benefit of all, ain't going nowhere. We're not going anywhere. And those who have will continue to have more. And those who have little will continue to have less. Because it is a divide that is not easily straddled. And the more degrees you get, and the more people that get degrees, is the harder the job is going to get. It's supply and demand. If there's a job for 5 doctors and 500 people get medical degrees, it's still a job for 5 doctors. 495 will still end up packing fries in a box. So it's not about your ability to learn and regurgitate. It has to be about us having a plan for the development of Trinidad and Tobago, the nation state of Trinidad and Tobago, which is 1.4 million souls. And that, when people ask you, what separates Trinidad and Tobago from Singapore? Because Singapore, we use Singapore model as an example, because Singapore got independence at the same time as Trinidad and Tobago, but Singapore was a brothel. Singapore was a drug-addled prostitute location. The economy was crap. Singapore was in a mess. Singapore is a quarter the size of Trinidad and Tobago. And Singapore was led by a man called Lee Kuan Yew, when Trinidad was led by a man called Eric Williams. And both of them had a vision for their country. And while Eric Williams wanted to straddle the people of Trinidad and Tobago, exaggerate the divide between the blacks and the Indians to his own advantage and that of his finances, Lee Kuan Yew had a vision of taking Singapore from third world to first world in the quickest possible time. His vision, both of their visions were realized. Trinidad is a shithole because of Eric Williams. Everything that went forward, Bastio Pandey, Eric Williams, Patrick Manning, Kamla Prasad Bisesa, all spew Williams bullshit. When you hear Vasant Bharat and Mariano Brown and people like them talk, they may use a convent girl accent to tell you the same Eric Williams socialist bullshit. And when you read their words, it sounds like they have an idea about what is going on. But they know how to navigate a ship in a flood. They don't know what caused the flood and how to build a ship. And you don't need that in charge. You don't need that. What you need in charge is people who understand all of the things that go towards making our existence what it is. What it is. Lee Kuan Yew took Singapore, quarter the size of Trinidad and Tobago. No oil, no gas, no booms. No oil, no gas, no booms. No tourism, no Tobago. Singapore was drug-addled. Lee Kuan Yew had to wrestle Singapore. He wrote a resignation letter without a date. And he said, I'm going to fix this country. If you don't like what I do, fire me. And that's exactly how you need to be. Put everything, forget the bullshit of the head rubbing and the convenient lies. Before COVID-19, Singapore's economy surpassed the United States of America as the most competitive economy on the planet. While Trinidad and Tobago, that earned $3 trillion, cannot account for it. We are totally in debt. We're broken and we're broke. And that's two different things. People ask me, why do I say broken and broke? It's two different things. Broke is you have no money. Broken is you have no means to make money. We don't. We're broken in debt. We owe everybody and nothing works in this country. A third of our budget, $20 billion, because even if the budget drops to $40 billion, it'll become 50% of our budget. It is not contingent on the size of the budget. But Colm Imbert has to find $20 billion to pay PNM voters. Colm Imbert has to find $20 billion to pay PNM supporters. When people tell you about the marvelous PNM machine, what it is taking money from everybody else, rewarding your supporters and keeping that gang active. It's a massive gang. Throughout the country of Trinidad and Tobago, it has infiltrated every post and position up to the highest level. This is why I talk the way I talk. There is no room for accommodation. There is no room to work with nobody if they don't see that we need to literally unplug Trinidad and Tobago and start it over. We need to reboot this republic. We need to go to September 1st, 1962 and start it back from there. Start it back from there. A budget is two things: income and expenditure. And Colm is going to have to magically find income to deal with the expenditure that he can't work around. Colm cannot work around the $2.5 billion that the THA gets to bribe and buy Tobago votes. Colm cannot work around CPEP and URP. Colm cannot work around the bloated public service. Colm cannot work around everything that is Trinidad and Tobago, that is the national state-owned board operated. 4,000 boards? How could we have 4,000 boards in a country this size? How? How is that possible? Somebody told me, and he vexed with me now, and he all over Facebook vexed with me, because I told him you had to be a jackass. When I tell you a third of the economy going to public salaries makes us a socialist state, and he asked me, do you think police and fire and health is socialist? I say, no, jackass, but do you think we have 400,000 doctors? Come on, or police, or firemen. We have to stop arguing for arguing's sake. I loved when Gary said today, when I'm wrong, I like to admit I'm wrong. Me too. I like to say it strong, because I know I'm right a lot of the times, and I'm right a lot of the times. And that's not a cocky statement. It is based on the fact that I am constantly educating myself, because what I don't know tonight, bet your bottom dollar, if I need that knowledge, I know it tomorrow. I will know it tomorrow. I'll debate anybody. There is nobody in this country that intimidates me, and there's nobody in this country I would not debate on issues of national concern, on track record, and on plans for the development of the country. Let's come to the banks. Let's come to the banks. Banking in Trinidad and Tobago. We woke up this morning to find Errol Fabian almost in tears. You know what it must feel like to wake up to find a marshal of the court with a piece of paper, heavily armed police officers and bailiff and workers come to mash down your door and take your stuff? That's what greeted Errol Fabian this morning. A national icon. Now I want to tell us about Errol Fabian. People ask me, why just Errol? And surprisingly, some people with East India names. And I want to say in the middle of this video, I want to cuss your stink for your racist position. Why just Errol? I'll tell you why Errol. Errol is a jackass. Errol is a fool. Errol is the kind of jackass fool that believes in Trinidad and Tobago. Errol is the kind of ass that has given his life to archiving the culture of Trinidad and Tobago. Errol Fabian is not rich despite the fact that he owned a free-to-air television station, Gael, that he could have gotten millions of dollars for, that he could have sold his soul, like all the radio stations, that sell their airtime for tens of thousands of dollars to political parties and political party whoremongers who pushing a political party agenda. But no, Errol Fabian, jackass that he is, built that from scratch and let it slip through his hands because he wanted to be a true patriot, civic-minded to the culture of Trinidad and Tobago. And that is what Gael continues to do. And I have been talking to Errol, with Errol, for over a decade, more. And some of the things we spoke about is monetizing Gael. But from the moment it runs afoul of the actual plan that he has, this man preferred to live. If you go and see the house they try to take from this man, Errol should be living in luxury. They have freaking contract mafia members in this country that spit on a contract and sell it to somebody else and buy themselves a mansion. Errol Fabian, who has worked so hard to preserve a sector of this nation's identity, you're asking why Errol. So that's why Errol is an ass, and I support him. Secondly, more importantly, what the bank did to Errol is a criminal act. And the fact, and I brought it up 3 years ago, next door to my brother-in-law, Republic Bank pulled up by a sick man. The man ended up sick. He had built his house in PT Valley, middle class. He had paid his millions of dollars and he spent millions more upgrading the house. And then he fell ill and he was struggling, but he was trying to keep on top of it. Throw all his shit in the road. It's a business. And they have stupid jackasses outside there who will tell you banking is a business. No, sir. That is not what it is supposed to be. That's what it has become. But the financial institutions that underpin the development of a nation state is important to the people. It is a repository of the people's funds. It's not supposed to be usurious and rapacious in its cost to do that. It evolved into, you know what? You all are giving us your money here. We will lend it to people who have no money. We'll take the risk and we'll charge them interest greater than the interest we will give you for using your money. And that's how the modern banking system came to be. You know what they're doing right now? Right now, what they're trying to do is remove the money out of the system altogether. So you will work and you will get paid by a balance on a card. And you have to use that card to shop anywhere you want, but you are not free to shop wherever you want because you can no longer stop by the roadside guy selling avocados, because if he can't get a license to sell his avocados on the side of the road, he has to sell it to high-low and massive for them to make the massive profit. It is a way to enslave the people. And I am telling you, financial service regulation is the most critical thing that we have to do in this country. And I'm saying to Trinidad and Tobago, I am going to spend the next couple of days going to the credit unions and other financial institutions to interview with them, to find out what it takes for every single citizen of Trinidad and Tobago to find out if the credit unions could take all the money. And I am going to, if it is possible, to tell you put your money in unit trust and put your money in the credit unions. Let us know, tell the banks, no thank you. Let's go to there. You are no longer serving the people. Please don't bring the DSS bullshit, because that drug susu that have 4 soldiers in custody tonight going to get bad. Don't bring that bullshit on my wall. What DSS doing have nothing to do with what I'm talking about, and do not as block people for less. Don't bring that nonsense and lead people astray. Okay? You have to now know where you put your money. It has to be safe. It should generate you some kind of interest, and you should be able to access it when you need it. Those 3 things. Right? When you surrender being able to access it when you need it, you put it in certificates of deposit or other limited withdrawal accounts. The banks have to give you a bigger interest for that because they're now working your money. But there are financial institutions in the country. I want to tell you this. The parliament have a responsibility to write laws and make financial services do what you want it to do. Say that again. Not what Republic Bank and Scotia Bank and RBTT want, their directors want and their shareholders want. It is what you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, need. And that is what the government is supposed to do. But it is not happening so. What's happening right now is that banks are doing the people what they want. And I could only think that the government and those in government are benefiting from it somehow. Because they can't be so stupid as to believe that Errol Fabian could have borrowed $700,000 from a bank, paid back $900,000, owing $300,000. So that's to show you the level of usurious interest on this man's house that they're going to take. And this house is worth more than $300,000. So the bank should never be able, there should be a line in the agreement that from the moment you pay past the equity value in your house, the bank have to get a judgment against you and take you to court. But the bank can't show up with a marshal and just take your house. That is madness. We need to protect the people of Trinidad and Tobago. We need to plant them as seeds in the ground and let them own their homes. You know how difficult it is for the average citizen of Trinidad and Tobago to buy a home? Do you know how almost impossible it is? You have to have, besides a fancy degree, you have to have a fancy income. You have to have a fancy income. Keith Edwards, I have not said credit unions all the way yet, but I have access to very bright financial people. I'm going to talk to them tomorrow. Even if Trinidadians went and took 50% of their money, I'm going to tell you something. Listen to me very carefully. Every little one of you, every tiny dot of you, you and your $400 that you're slaving away to mine in the bank, you underpin this economy. It is because of you KFC exists. But not only that, it is because of you BMW and Mercedes-Benz and Range Rover could sell. Because for every Diana Dinamit and Casey Dinamit that sell in this country, that is the economy moving. So that the people up at the top that collecting a cent and a 2 cents from every one of that, able to buy themselves a fancy car. But without you, none of it exists. And your little $200 that you could take out of the bank and put in the credit union will change the worldview of that bank. It will change the way the bank operates, and I'm going to find out what is going on with the credit unions, and I'm going to interview with them, all of them. I'm going to make a list. My team already working on that, setting up appointments. I want to go and talk to them because I will come back to tell you this is what I have learned about the credit union system. I want to learn the law. I'll talk to Sturge and the rest of the crew and find out what the law is and how protected are you in credit unions, if it's the same as the banks, and move your money. Move your money. Lina Mara, you don't need a HDC house. What you need is a country where it is easy for you to own a home. That's another thing, stamp duty. Carl Imbut admitted to the nation he bought a multi-million-dollar property where he's building a multi-million-dollar apartment complex, and he paid no stamp duty because he bought all the shares in the company. And as a smart man is, they created an end run for the rich to form companies for the sole purpose of buying land, to pay stamp duty once and rob the treasury from there. Every transaction of a property is supposed to incur stamp duty. That's where the system is being robbed. Because of that, where you could create a company to buy a property, that should be outlawed immediately. Or remove the fact that you could buy the shares in a company that owns property. Make a law that you have to have a land holding company, and if you sell that company, stamp duty applies. But we're not there, and we're not having those conversations because we're distracted by bullshit, and they're closing the walls around you. It's getting harder and harder to breathe in Trinidad and Tobago. It's getting very, very difficult. When we woke up this morning, I want to tell you this, I am so proud of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. We made such a stink over Errol Fabian that in less than 12 hours, y'all raised more than the money that he needed for his house. He has an appointment in the bank tomorrow, and he is walking in that bank tomorrow with a swagger because he has... You, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, in your little $100, $200 contribution, have contributed more than the $350,000 that he needs. How amazing are we that we could stand together for our brother and save him from the banks. So now, if we could do that for one, why can't we do that for all? Well, we got it for all. I said this morning on my live video, if Citizens Union was up and running, because we were racing to get it up and running, to get the members signing up, but all this bullshit is happening and it's distracting while we're trying to focus. But if we had 100,000 members this morning, we bring First Citizens Bank to its knees. Tell them that we will shut you down or you fire that jackass who made that decision. You cannot be throwing people in the street, especially if they've paid back the principal. Even if you don't call it the principal. If what they've paid back is more money than they've borrowed, you cannot do what that bank did this morning. You cannot. You ought not. Please don't come and tell me what they have in America. In America, they have rules and laws and guidelines, and that bank manager could have gotten fired. So don't look and see what other people posted and come to flam that nonsense on my wall. I'm not taking that anymore. This is a place where we, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, get to stand up and say, let us join ourselves together as one people. Mark Ramjohn, if you want to tell your story, you could call me now on 682-2110 and we could share your story with the rest of the people in Trinidad and Tobago, because they need to hear and they need to know. They need to know what is going on in this country. This guy is banking. The average person who owns a home may never live long enough to finish pay off it. If they die, if they have no insurance, if the insurance company in any way do any skimmy-dimmy, they will still lose the property. They're not going to be able to pass it on to the children. Generational wealth. You hear that term? Generational wealth is what separates the rich from the poor. You cannot go anywhere if you do not have generational wealth that you are growing, passing on from generation to generation. And it doesn't have to be Rolls-Royce wealth. It just has to be wealth that puts food on the table. What is the difference between riches and wealth, Philip? Wealth is when you reach to a point where the money that is coming in is greater than your need. You have, let's say you have an expense of $5,000 a month to live, and you're making $5,000 and you're doing okay. Then you start making $6,000. The average jackass takes that $6,000 and upgrades their life. What you're supposed to do is start to save. Hello, good evening, Mark. How are you going? Hi, good. Tell me something. Let the people know who you are. Other than, let them know who you are and what you do. Because a lot of people who know you don't know you as Mark Ramjohn.
Correct. I am DJ Scooby, as everybody would know me from the days of Upper Level Coconuts and all the nightclubs in Trinidad.
Plenty people wedding too.
And weddings. And yeah, well, that was what...
Graduation, wedding. Scooby outside there as a DJ, decades now. Since
years.
How long?
33 years.
Since all of we was little boys, Scooby spinning.
Yeah, 1987.
Right.
So what the banks are doing, or should I say what Scotiabank is doing, to me, I can't attest to the other banks of what their policies are, because I don't bank with them. Scotiabank is charging 50% of the mortgage, which is the interest, a portion of your mortgage. They're charging that full 50% for every month that you have to defer.
That's not a defer. That's gouging.
Right?
That's taking advantage of the pandemic. That's flying in the face of the bullshit that Coleman but came on the TV and greased us all and told us how wonderful the banks are behaving, that they've agreed to give us a deferral on our mortgages. That was bullshit.
On top of that, we didn't talk about a credit card, right? In the 6 months, they have added $15,000 to $16,000 interest on the credit card, right? So they have added, and I'll give you figures. They've added $46,000, just about a little over $46,000 onto my mortgage, which has to be paid starting January the 1st, which is a separate interest to your mortgage.
So you are now already underwater. You are at a point now where what is coming back at you when they start back coming for the actual monthly payment, because they've deferred payments because the government shut the country down and you have not been able to earn any money. Like Errol Fabian, that's what he said. Errol said, listen, I just have not been able to earn money, and that's why I haven't been able to pay my bills. Like everybody else. Scooby, you've not been able to earn money because the country has been locked down. So the government said that in the lockdown, they're going to defer all payments, all loan payments, all mortgage and credit card payments. Where did this interest come from?
Well, as I said, they said the interest would accrue regardless of the deferral.
So they didn't help you.
Payment, but interest will still accrue.
So they didn't help you. Accruing is one thing. Accruing is one thing. But if January 1st finds you having to pay 2 separate loans now.
Now here's the catch. Here's the catch with the deferral now. Let's say work returns to normal, right? And let's say you are able to pay your mortgage. So you make your payment for your mortgage and it's like everything is nice and honky-dory, right? But you do not say that there was $5,000 of this payment is towards the deferral interest. The deferral interest does not come down.
So what happens to that? That keeps earning interest?
So they will take your payment towards your regular mortgage payment. But because you did not say or put any money to say designate this $5,000 towards the deferral interest is not paid.
So they're treating you, as Ravindra just said, they're treating you as a default. That's not a deferral, that's a default charge, yeah?
Something like that, I guess.
So what can you do?
What can I do? I have no goddamn idea right now, because even when the industry reopens, how the businesses will not be able to afford what your normal fees, what we used to charge before, and everything is going to be cut by half. I have not earned any money since March. Right? I have not earned a cent since March. Whatever money I've made to survive is because I had to sell my car to buy food, right? I had to sell whatever tools that I had to buy food, because I'm not going to take that money and go and give it to the bank and have my child starving.
Scooby, I want to thank you for telling your story. Bro, I want to tell Trinidad and Tobago that Mark Ramjohn has been a very strong supporter, and he has done a lot to assist us as we grow this movement. And Scooby, I want to tell you that I am going to stand with you and everybody else. We are going to find a way through this. I promise you that.
Well, I thank you very much, Philip, because I fully support what you're trying to do. I get bashed every day. How you can support that man? How you can support that man? And I'm saying that, listen, what is in past is in past. He's the only person in Trinidad in this entire country that is actually making sense of what he's saying.
Scooby, I want to tell you something. The people who have the greatest things to say about me, they have to do it and hide and hope I never hear their names. Because I know all who burned down store to make money during the last recession. I know all who daddy laundering money. I know all who involved in moving criminal contraband through Trinidad and Tobago to Trinidad and Tobago. I know who get contracts for what kickbacks. You'd be surprised at what I know. And some people, I will make them cry if they ever have to walk up to me and try to play the bad talking me to me, and I get to answer them what I know about them. We didn't lose $3 trillion by accident, brother.
No, we didn't.
Yeah?
Can I pose something else concerning as I say, the PNM trolls?
Yeah, you got it.
Jason Williams, good friend of ours, that very good man, right? He went up for PNM for the Sangor seat. He lost to Saddam Hussein, right? Not by much, but he lost regardless. Saddam Hussein said, well, here what? You remember he reached out to Jason Williams and your candidate
yes.
to say, let's all work together to try and better the community, right?
Mm-hmm.
You you know that he was reprimanded by the PNM administration. How can you consult with the enemy? Right?
Scooby, listen.
Scooby replied, but he's not my enemy. We contest the election a lot, he win.
Scooby, if I tell you, I don't mean to this. You know what? He should have never gone in the first place. PNM and UNC is bullshit, and you and I know that.
Correct. Yeah, but I'm just.
Let me don't get distracted by the carrot and the stick. We're going forward from here, my brother. Thanks a lot for calling.
All right.
Take it easy.
Okay.
Anybody else who would like to call and tell their story? Any horror story with the banking? 682-2110. You could go and check in my videos. I had to rescue 2 different people whose cars were repossessed. The banks, what they do is they wait until you pass a certain payment, and if you run into this distress at all, they're coming to take it fast, because certain people working in the bank don't have their people that they offloaded. Errol Fabian house, I'm willing to bet you Errol Fabian property had people already pass and look at it and work out deals. I'm telling you, that's the nasty country we live in. That people sitting down and smiling with you as your credit officer, your loans officer, your bank manager. But not every skin teeth in Trinidad and Tobago is a smile. Believe you me. Hello, good evening, you're live.
Yeah, Phillip, good afternoon, good night, sir. I was one of your ardent supporters, right? Actually, I took on a loan in 2016 in Scotiabank. Last year, on the 18th of July, I was diagnosed with a stroke. And I was paying life insurance. When I do so not to make a claim, and I told them, because I had insurance for critical illness from the bank, I paid about $12,000. The bank told me now that they can't pay because I was diagnosed with diabetes, and I didn't inform the bank and let them know that I was diagnosed with diabetes, and they never paid off the loan. I had to beg, borrow, and thief in order to survive, to pay this loan for my car. Else all my money that I paid for the car, all my money would be just going down the drain.
Wow. Sorry to hear that, my brother. The Citizens Union of Trinidad and Tobago is setting up right now, and the purpose of this organization is to stand up for people like you, all the people of Trinidad and Tobago. We want to give the people the same strength in numbers, the same power that the contract mafia, the 1%, those with wealth and generational wealth. It is time to balance the scales and give the average person in Trinidad and Tobago some power, somebody that they could call. So we can say, listen, this person is having a problem, let's see how we could sort it out. Don't throw them in the street and throw them to the wolves.
Yeah, this is my last month I had to pay. When I say last month I won the money, I had to pay. Because all my money just going into medical, and I don't have no money to pay, so the bank had to seize it now. Everything that I worked for all the days of my life, everything gone.
Well, one day I will tell my stories, but let me give some other people a chance to call. Thanks a lot. Don't forget to sign up.
I will.
Okay, buddy. Later.
Okay, buddy. Thanks.
Hello, good evening. You're live.
Yes, good evening, and good evening to the listening audience. I just have a story about Scotiabank again. Scotiabank, when they defer your loan, a mortgage payment of $5,000, they're charging you $5,429 extra for 2 years. Then your payment going back to normal, and you still have 3 months added on to your loan. So these people are not really deferring the loan. They're charging us interest and making a whole heap of money.
But the government said, the Minister of Finance started the second, I remember, the second lockdown meeting when he blew so much smoke up the nation's ass and told us about the Banking Association of Trinidad and Tobago and how they volunteered to help and defer this. Anyway, my brother, I want to take as many calls as I could, okay?
No problem. You enjoy your night.
Take it easy, buddy. And anybody who call and miss getting through, call back, please. Hello, good evening, you're live. Hello, good evening, you're live. Oh my gosh, I guess the connection didn't make. If you're trying to call and you didn't get through, call back. I'll take your call. Yeah? And let's try and keep it. Let's try and keep the calls like a mini skirt. Short enough to be interesting, long enough to cover the subject. 682-2110. Yeah, Time magazine wrote about banks in Trinidad and Tobago 20 years ago and called them predators in paradise. Nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. Yeah? Anybody else? 682-21. Then you could call in. But our reality, our collective reality is experienced individually, and this is why we are sinking as a nation. Our collective reality is experienced individually, and that is why we are failing as a nation. We do not stand with each other. It is too easy for us to see people by race and by class and by who zooming who and bad talk one another. Too easy to do that shit. Stop that.
Good night, good night, Mr. Phillip.
Good evening. How are you?
I am wonderful. You know, the bank works like this. You have money in your account, they will send you a million letters to give you help. But when you need help, you can never go to no bank to get help or to assist you in any financial problems. The bank are the best tricksters of financial in Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you very much and have a blessed night.
Everybody have a story to tell. Hello, good evening. You're live.
Good evening, Mr. Alexander.
Good evening.
Yes, good evening. I want to applaud you first of all for what the initiative you took today. Right? It was well done. Well done. I have a similar situation, but it's with Eastern Credit Union. Right? They give us the deferral the 3 months. So after the 3 months, I started to pay. Now they're telling me that I have interest to pay. That has amounted to 20-something thousand as we speak. Right?
I want to ask you a question. You mind sharing that information with me? Because I want to start advocating for people with these institutions, and I want to hear what they're saying to a third party who is representing you or people like you in this situation. You mind sharing that information with me, like via WhatsApp or email? It don't have to be too in-depth. Huh?
That's not a problem, I will.
It don't have to be too in-depth and too personal. I just want to be able to see how I can help and guide. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
I want to go back and get a recording. I want to get the notes when Carl Members said that the banks are going to be deferring the interest. I want to see how we got from that to here. Somebody lied to the nation, the state. The government is responsible to the state. The government is responsible to the people. The government shut the country down. The government locked down Trinidad and Tobago. Whether right or wrong, the government took that decision. And the moment you take that decision, you have a responsibility to the people to make sure that you can keep them in a position where they can survive your lockdown. Yes?
And every day, it is going up by $200 and something, eh?
My brother, I feel you. I really feel for you. Tell me something. What type of employment? How do you earn your living?
Well, I work with the government, but I have
let me take this other call here. Send me this stuff via WhatsApp. You and I will talk some more.
Okay, no problem.
Hello, good evening. You're live. Hello. Sorry about that. If you're calling and you didn't get through, please call back. I would tell you all to WhatsApp your story and I'd read your story, but that will take too long. Yeah? And Kendall Baggy. I want to tell you something, eh? This gentleman, I need two like him, and I could change the world. Reserve requirements for commercial banks have been reduced by the central bank from 17% to 14% and the repo rate from 5% to 3.5%. As a result, commercial banks have reduced their prime lending rates from an average of 9.5 to 7.5%. The narrowing spread between lending rates and deposit rates will surely bring about improved efficiency within the banking system. It should be noted that whereas the reduction in the prime lending rate has an automatic beneficial effect on loans that have a variable interest, the commercial banks have advised that loan agreements with fixed interest rates require one-on-one consultation with the commercial banks to discuss possible reductions. Additional liquidity through a freeing up of $2.6 billion, just now, touch the screen, $2.6 billion previously held in reserve is facilitating the reduction in lending rates. Liquidity in the banking system is now in the vicinity of $6 billion. The banks are also providing a moratorium on mortgages and installment loan payments. Penalties are being waived on the overdraft facilities on a month-by-month basis. Credit cards now have reduced rates and increased credit limits. Banks are being encouraged to reduce mortgage interest rates, and there will be discussions between the banks and the Ministry of Finance on this issue and interest rates generally. Money lenders have reduced interest rates and deferred payments. Credit unions are being encouraged to exercise forbearance. The Trinidad and Tobago Mortgage Finance Limited and the Home Mortgage Bank are deferring mortgage payments up to 3 months in the first instance. A review could extend the deferral to a further 6 months. So what does this information mean in the reality of what actually people are experiencing? Case in point, Errol Fabian today. Government has announced a number of measures to provide economic relief to citizens and businesses over the following months as all sectors continue to be impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Here are some highlights from the measures, and we have that list. And Kendall Baggy, boy, you are so important to this movement. Somebody just wrote me. You just mentioned that people were watching Errol Fabian's home before they tried to move on it. Inside knowledge may reveal that the banks start foreclosing on properties in October. They have a list for friends and families on every property they are going to foreclose on. Yeah? I want to say this to the people who are adding me to WhatsApp groups. Is that I would rather not be added to groups. So I will exit the groups because I don't want to be part of people's arguments. But you could share all of my videos. So I just exited a couple of groups, and no disrespect intended to the people who added me. But the truth of the matter is that that's too much notifications. Can't deal with what I have right now. Yeah. Nick Rojas just shared this. Hey, my brother, just witnessed a lady getting robbed right there by Pizza Hut Roxy. She was getting dragged in the street because the guy was trying to get her phone from her. When he was going into the ATM in one Woodbrook, another guy was also in there waiting to rob. He had to run back to the car and speed off. Please be careful. I mean, Trinidad and Tobago, we are getting to a place. We are getting to a place where we need to pull together. We need to stand together. There are a lot of very intelligent and capable people in this country. Kamala Prasad Bisesa and Keith Rowley are not the best and not the brightest of us. The 41 in that parliament are not the best. They are not the brightest. They don't reflect the best or the brightest of us. The cabinet, that cabinet of ministers does not reflect the best or the brightest of us. Tuesday morning, I had to intervene for people, but for a person who came to me, and it turned out a lot of other people benefited, because she came to me because she couldn't get a death certificate for a loved one who passed away on Sunday, and the system was down, and the people was just telling her, well, the system for death certificates is down, and we don't know when it will be up. So just keep coming back, because the number to call, when you call the number, it gives you a recording to go to our website to make an appointment. That's not what she wants. She wants a death certificate. The system was broken. It was set up to fail. So the fact that it wasn't working doesn't mean that something different was happening. It was set up to fail. She needed to be treated with dignity and respect. Someone lost a loved one. If you are in that part of the system, you're supposed to be somebody who has human compassion. You are treating with people who are going through grief and mourning. And we had to help her. We had to expose that the Ministry of Legal Affairs was non-functional for 2 days. And nobody knew that it is because of that live video we did that morning. The Attorney General found out. Fitzgerald Hines was another minister, didn't know either. Nobody knew that the entire Ministry of Legal Affairs had collapsed for 2 days, at least. If you have a story to tell and you would like to tell your story, 682-2110. I don't want to let this go on too much longer, but I want to tell you this. I want to say this, okay? With all the talk about the elections being rigged and being stolen, and with all the talk about the $20 billion being taken from the Treasury to pay the people who keep voting people into office, because people keep asking, how are people so foolish? They are foolish, but they're smart because they're voting for their salary. But what's going to happen in this budget? What's going to happen in this budget? Colin, you have no income. You have deficit finance for 10 years. We've deficit finance for 10 years. You've deficit finance for 5. What happens now that there's nowhere to turn to for loans and credit? Where are you going to get the money from to run the country? The middle class? The people who are not living in an HDC house that are not going to get charged a property tax? The people whose salary not exempt from tax? How much more can those people take before they break? And when you break them and you end up with only the people in socialist positions earning money, buying chicken and chips, what do you think will happen to the nation state of Trinidad and Tobago? There's no more money from China for Trinidad and Tobago to borrow. China is not a fool. China has already gotten what it wanted from Trinidad and Tobago. There's a reason the biggest embassy in the world is in Trinidad and Tobago. They come to claim. They come to claim what is theirs. And I'll tell you again, there are 1.4 million of us. And in this beautiful and blessed country, we can make Trinidad and Tobago one of the wealthiest nations on planet Earth and one of the best places to live. You know what's the first thing you all have to do? The first thing you all have to do, and I want to tell you this, I had to delete some comments on my live video today because I couldn't believe how hard black people could be against a black man. Errol Fabian didn't start off looking for a handout. Errol Fabian was doing his business. And he was taking care of his business and raising his 42 children. I think he's about 42 years. They're not real children. Anyway, the man don't ask nobody for nothing, running his business, working hard and doing anything. COVID-19 and this government shut the country down. The man said, I couldn't work, boy. I couldn't get a dollar. I couldn't pay. I could barely feed. People like him end up looking to others for help. And you come to throw the man out of the house, boy. People ask, why you borrow money when you couldn't pay? You know how many people are going to be in that same situation any day now? We are too nasty in this country. We need to stop that. We need to become our brother's keeper. Look, Glenn Robinson telling me, crab in a barrel. Eric Williams, that nasty, disgusting demon. Eric Williams. We should go and find where they bury him. Dig it up. Burn some holy ash. And throw some holy water. It might catch a fire. That nasty devil, Eric Williams, stink, nasty man. Put that on all your, call all your crabs in a barrel and that stick. So all those 9-day people, that stick. All you want is carnival, that stick. He had a nasty mouth. He sell his soul to the devil. I telling you, Eric Williams was a nasty, nasty man. Everything that came from Eric Williams was demon seed. Nasty man. We were cursed by Eric Williams, a stink and disgusting human being. Patrick Manning was no better. Patrick Banning told the nation, when I am no longer in politics, I am going to go and become a pastor. I say, you lying son of a bitch, you are the prime minister right now. By the stroke of a pen, you could change lives for all the orphans and all the homeless, but you don't do it. And I was running the Jericho project then 26 years ago. I said, you don't do it. You don't care for people. You don't have a heart for people. You want to be a pastor? Gandhi said, if Christians had lived a Christ life, there wouldn't be one Hindu left in all of India. And he was trying to say, don't be Christian in name only. You want to go and be a freaking pastor and bully from the pulpit? Come down right now. And I had to tell Jesus Christ's biggest son, hands that serve are better than lips that pray. We, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, put all of that aside. We, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, we have all of the power. We have the power. We have the power. We, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, red, white, black, green, every shade in between. If you're poor, if you're catching your ass, if you're suffering, if you're hard working, you don't know where your next dollar coming from, join the Citizens Union. If you're doing well and you have a plan for your life, but you want a better country, join the Citizens Union. The only people who don't belong in the Citizens Union are the criminally corrupt and the bandits. Stay out. 100,000. We're coming very close to our 10,000 first adopters. If you're not signed up yet, you will see people on this trail. Hadassah Charles McLeod just show up. You'll see people like Chini Mamu and the rest of the crew. Reach out to them, click the link, add your name, sign up, make sure you're ready. The first adopters, the 10,000 first adopters getting a nice gift package when they join. Mask, t-shirt, pen, bumper sticker, all kind of thing. So make sure that you are one of those 10,000. We've proven the concept. You've seen this week twice Errol Fabian host today, and you've seen with the death certificate, the Citizens Union of Trinidad and Tobago is led by people who like pit bulls. When we bite down, we don't let go till it bleed. If you want us to be a nation that works, help us create a counterbalance to the nonsense that is taking place as government in this country. You cannot continue to be divided, going up against that criminal construct one at a time. They will eat you alive. Time to get together. Red, white, black, green, and every shade in between. Take pride in the fact that the man that you're standing next to, that you're locking arms with, is not the same race with you, is not the same religion with you, but is the same country with you. And together we are a union of citizens, and that is all that matters. Yeah? Thank you for joining me tonight. Thank all of you who stood up today and helped a brother. Thank all of you who continue to reach out and try to assist in any way. We are going to need help from those who want to help build the union from inside. You know yourself. You know your capacities and your capabilities and your skill set. Reach out, message me, let me know. We will make sure that the team calls on you, because we need to build out a proper team. We need to make sure that the representation that we give is second to none. Yeah? Stay safe, brothers and sisters. Until tomorrow.